What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of Knicks Latest. It's officially the offseason for Knicks fans. It's a sad time. It was a great season, but it's time to move forward. First, subscribe to the channel. We're building a community here at Knicks Latest. Want to get your comments, want to get your thoughts, your opinions, your questions, all that, and use them on the show. Heading into an offseason, a huge offseason. I mean, it can't be overstated how big this offseason is. Going to change the trajectory of the whole franchise. The Knicks right now, their title window's open right now. Leon Rose, whatever moves you make this season, this offseason, is going to play a huge role in whether or not the New York Knicks win an NBA championship within this window. Very nervous about it, but very excited about it at the same time. Let's get to it right away, because first, we got to talk about who we're keeping, who we're not keeping. You know, a lot of talk right now is that a lot of people are out on Karl-Anthony Towns. A lot of the New York media is out on him. You saw a lot of radio personalities ripping into him. That is not something that I'm going to do. I do like Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm not sure if he's a correct fit for this roster, for this team. I do think that if the right deal comes across where maybe they can get somebody who is more defensive complementary for Jalen Brunson and who can give you some type of offensive output, maybe you get multiple players in that deal, you do move him. But he's not somebody who I am 100% out on. I do think that there's a lot to appreciate about Karl-Anthony Towns that a lot of Knicks fans are forgetting right now. The man did put on big-time performances throughout the playoffs against Detroit, against Indiana as well, against the Celtics. He had his moments inside in the post. You know, there is a lot of good there with Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, Fred Katz, writer for The Athletic, did come out with an article talking about how the locker room was frustrated with his defensive abilities, his lack of attention to detail on the defensive end, and that is totally understandable. That is something that we saw throughout the whole playoffs, right? Yelling at Cat on my TV to get up, Cat, get up. Get up, you know, on the pick and rolls, you know, his inability to show on pick and rolls, his inability to play drop coverage correctly, his inability to pressure the ball coming off of screens. I mean, there was just a lot of miscommunication. There were times you saw OG Anunoby, out of all people, get animated with him. You can tell that there was something there in the locker room. Now, Fred also did say that this is not uncommon, that this happens all the time, you know, with basketball teams. So maybe that's not something to look too deep into, but it is something there where it's like, hey, maybe he's just not fit for this type of system that Tibbs runs defensively. Maybe he doesn't have defensive chemistry with everybody else on the team. You know, a big reason why the Knicks lost to the Indiana Pacers was because at important times during the game, you have Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns on the floor at the same time, and those are two minus defenders that the teams can just feast on. And that was the Knicks' ultimate undoing there, just not being able to guard with those two players on the court. And then it's hard to justify keeping Karl-Anthony Towns around because it's like, well, what are you getting on the offensive end when Jalen Brunson's on the court with Karl-Anthony Towns? And the answer is they don't really play well together. That's just the reality of the situation. Karl-Anthony Towns, when he got his buckets in the playoffs, it was mostly when Jalen Brunson was out. He played better when Jalen Brunson was out. The plus-minus numbers you can say whatever you want about them, but it was obvious with the eye test as well. Karl-Anthony Towns got his buckets, did his best, played his best offensively with Jalen Brunson off the court. What's the point of having them together if they can't mesh offensively? Now, I do think you can make the case that, hey, maybe another year together, an offseason together, can do them wonders. Let's not forget Karl-Anthony Towns was traded for a couple weeks before the season started. It wasn't like they had a training camp together. They didn't have a lot of time to get acclimated with each other. So maybe an offseason will do them well. Who knows? Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the most talented big men this league has ever seen. He's one of the most talented big men in the league right now. There's a lot of positives there. But are we out on Cat? Let me know in the comment section. What do you want to do with Karl-Anthony Towns? Do we keep him? Do we put him on the block? What do we do with Cat? Are you out? I think another question that this team has to answer is, what do we do with Tom Thibodeau? Do Knicks fans believe that Tom Thibodeau is the coach to bring this team to the next level? Does Leon Rose think that Tom Thibodeau is the coach to bring this team to the next level? I don't know. I have my concerns. I have my questions. I think it's fair to criticize him for not using the bench correctly, not trusting his bench until it was, too late almost. But then how much of that is the roster, right? that bench was thin. They do need men. They do need players that Tom Thibodeau can trust. We have seen Tom Thibodeau go 10 deep before. He is not opposed to using his bench if he feels comfortable doing it, if he has the bench. I don't think he believed in this roster. So how much can we really judge him for that? They did get to the Eastern Conference Finals. This team was put together to beat the Boston Celtics, and Tibbs did that. He did. It just so happened that the team they put together matched up worse with Indiana than they did last year. They were put together to beat the Celtics, not to win the NBA Finals. So that's the unfortunate thing. I have a lot of love for Tibbs. He's somebody who came over and changed the culture along with Julius Randle with this team automatically. I'm going to have love for Tibbs no matter what. But I do think there's a case to be made that if you do keep this roster, maybe you go in the direction of somebody who's a little more offensive-minded, who can use Jalen Brunson, who can use Karl Anthony Towns in certain situations offensively where you could maximize both of them. Yes, maybe you don't become the defensive juggernaut that you would want to be under Tibbs, but you are better offensively. You do have a better process offensively. And maybe players like Mikal Bridges don't go into slumps or disappear like they did all year. There's a lot of cases to be made that Tibbs might have run his course here. I don't know. These are questions that Leon Rose is going to have to answer. What do you think? Are you out on Tibbs? What do you see the Knicks doing if they do move on from Tibbs? This is a huge offseason, and we're just getting started here on Knicks Latest. But before we even address any trades, any rumors, any transactions, we need to know what we're doing with Cat, and we need to know what we're doing with Tibbs. Because if they start to go, if those pins start to drop, then the ball gets rolling, and then we can start talking about rumors. Then we can start talking about signing free agents. And trust me, on this channel, we're going to speculate. We're going to speculate. We're going to speculate so much. We're going to have a great time here. We're going to talk Giannis. There are players on the Pelicans like Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado that I've seen already on Knicks Twitter people want. Trey Murphy's another name that's coming up. Naz Reid is somebody who I think the Knicks should grab. We're going to talk about that. We'll get to that. We have so many days of this offseason to talk about it. I wanted to do this day particularly about Tibbs and Cat and whether or not you watching this video, if you're in or out. Let me know in the comments. Are you in on Tibbs? Are you out on Tibbs? Are you in on Cat? Are you out on Cat? Let's get that conversation started. Let's go from there, and let's build a championship roster together in this offseason. Again, listen, if you want to follow me, you can everywhere at Josh_Rodriguez_. We're trying to build a community here on Knicks Latest. Very excited for this offseason. We are in the middle of a golden age for New York Knicks basketball. If you don't recognize that right now, please hit yourself over the head and come to terms that even though they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, it has been 25 years since they've been there. We are in the middle of something special here in New York. It's going to take some time. The window's open right now. Lock in. We got this. I'm already excited for next year. Follow me over, like I said, at Josh_Rodriguez_. Tune tomorrow for another episode of Knicks Latest. I'll see you then. Peace.